What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys had a great trading week. My trading week was so-so. So I had, I think, 6 trades I took this week. One of them was a small loss. Two of them they hit stop loss. One was in profit, and the broker just, I don't know what happened. I'll just say the broker probably had like some liquidity drop because my stop loss was activated way earlier than it was, but it's my fault because I was trading outside of the hours for gold. So all of those things I journaled about and just really reviewed kind of how the week went, and that's why I said it's kind of so-so. I was able to make back the losses of my first two losses that I took earlier on in the week. The third trade kind of recovered those, and then I had a huge opportunity that I was in but didn't commit to, so I ended up missing out on the on a trade like that. But anyways, I'm going to review with you guys the trade that actually was profitable, and I'm also going to show you guys like how I go about journaling trades, because I think it's so important to not only because I think it's so important to not only like think about, okay, am I just following my steps, but like you want to also see kind of like I would say like an inventory of the fruits of your labor. So every time I followed my trading plan, this is what happened. This was the outcome. Even if it's a loss, it's like I followed my trading plan and I maybe incurred this amount of loss, right? But because I stuck to my risk to reward ratio, I waited for another setup for a high opportunity, and then I got into this trade, and this is how much I profited, which covered, the previous losses. So I seen a lot of that in like my journaling, and I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of just show you guys too how you can journal and really watch yourself grow, because I started journaling last year, but I wasn't consistent with it. But this year I'm really trying to be consistent with it because I've already kind of seen growth between last week and this week. Um and honestly, it just looks really nice to kind of see like the progression of how the markets is like how the candlesticks are forming throughout the week on each time frame too, as I've been reviewing it. So this is the trade that was the only profitable trade I had last week, but one win is better than no wins. So this is the trade. It was a 1-to-6 ratio. Um, and I actually think this was the best trade. It followed my plan to the T. So let me pull out my notes. So if you don't already, right, you should have some kind of, I don't know, you should have some kind of documentation, software, or, Word would do just fine. I like to use Notion because it's just easier for me to organize all my notes, but you definitely want some kind of documentation application, right? In Notion, this is how I usually break it down. I will write the number of the trade that I've taken for that week. This was the fourth trade. Um, the pair that I'm trading, gold, and then the date that I took it. I'll start off with just the general, I would say I usually take it on the highest time frame where I saw the opportunity and no annotations. And then in my first paragraph here, I'll write the time frame that I saw and kind of like a brief description on like what yielded from this trade basically. And then I also talk about the lot size that I'm using. Please do not make fun of me for using such a small lot size on gold. I am still learning, so I'm not ready to risk bigger lot sizes on gold right now until I feel more confident. I'm gaining more confidence. Honestly, like I feel more confident about gold this week than I did last week. So I'm assuming it's probably like, doing really good journaling and also sticking with my trading plan that has me liking gold. So I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing because it's working. So no need to change it if it's working. And the next thing I'll write is about the higher time frame price action. What did I see about my opportunities in this trade, and how, for me, like, it's also like, how could I have maybe capitalized on this trade more if there was an opportunity, right? So on this one in particular, we had like a retest. I'll explain over here on the charts, but we had a retest of this support. So the support was formed by this two candle pairings, a bearish and then a bullish candle. Then we had price come back down and test that same area of support. So once we saw price come back down here, we were looking to see basically, like, we want to see price be rejected or create another, two pair of candlesticks that shows that the support is strong, right? So that's exactly what I talked about on this big yellow globe right here. I kind of just put it in a very watered, or I would say kind of high level talk about what made me want to look at this trade, right? So in my notes, I said the entry signal to look for on the lower time frame, right? So this candlestick pattern, this 1, 2, 3, and I'll highlight it again over here. Highlight is what I saw when I was on the H4 time frame that initially already told me, okay, it's time to start looking for an entry on the lower time frame. And if you know your candlestick patterns, this is also kind of a Morningstar pattern, which is a very strong bullish candlestick pattern that also happens at levels of support. And because I saw that this was on the H4, I definitely felt like this would be enough volume. So the volume to take the trade to at least a 1 to 3, because that's always my risk to reward ratio. So I also went in, so I marked that down, and then I said, okay, the bullish engulfing in formation of the higher low on the lower time frame signals a breaker structure at the A4 support, right? So now what I'm talking about is kind of like candlestick, it's like time frame correlation, but also candlestick analysis, right? So I knew once I saw this, we had like this big drop. We had this big drop in price coming down to the support. We also had price come up a little bit on this bullish candle. Then it came down on this bearish candle, right? So it came down to here, stayed here for a little bit, and then it started to push up. Even before going on a lower time frame, you can already see that a higher low has formed. And if you guys remember, every time that I talk about breaker structures, you always either want to look for a new higher low to be formed if you're looking at buys, or a new lower high to be formed if you're looking at sells, or some kind of break in the minor structure that will signal to you that it's time for you to now enter into the trade. So that is what I saw on H4. So I just saw this candlestick pattern. I looked at the candlestick analysis of how the price was moving throughout these 4 candles, and I deemed it was at least interesting enough for me to go on to the lower time frame. So I mark all of that first on my higher time frame price action. I'll also look at the risk to reward. It has to be at least a 1 to 3 in order for me to consider it worth the risk to take the trade. My first take profit was this blue weekly resistance line. If you remember, this is the line. And yeah. And then I also was looking at other options for take profits. I believe take profit 2 on that chart was this one, which was the last level of support. Before this, we had this pullback to this H4 support. So we had an H1 support, pull back to an H4 support. So I said, okay, well, that would be my TP2 just in case we had some sort of, I don't know, break of structure, because we are at the weekly resistance. So this was very likely to happen if there was enough selling pressure on gold side, but there wasn't. So price also broke through that. And then my last TP or TP3 was on this resistance, which, if you know, is the last resistance that was formed in this market structure. So we had a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a retest of the same low, right? So now this high was my TP3, right? And you'll see that over here on the right, that's what TP3 is. So I had three take profits lined up. Now the reason why I closed this trade early, actually talk about it in this intro paragraph here, but I want to talk about the lower time frame first before I go back, right? So one thing I'll do is I'm starting to put like which time zones I look in, not necessarily just the ones that are like where I entered. So I know from H4, I go down to M30. I'm looking at M30, right? So I'm just trying to see, okay, in this area that I have marked off, what are my options for entry, right? So again, we're still at that H4 support, this purple line. So we wanted to see price kind of break up and create a higher low above it. And I saw on M30, it did, but it wasn't clear enough in terms of details. So then that's when I went down to M15. And in M15, I saw exactly what I needed to see. I saw that we did in fact have price break above this H4 level support, signaling that there are more buyers in control rather than sellers. It officially broke on this candle for me. So next thing that I'm looking for is just some kind of bullish engulfing or entry signal that says it's time to get in, because I already know based on the higher time frame, we already formed a new higher low, which is this one. So the next higher low or bullish engulfing is just a minor market structure. Minor meaning that we are on the lower time frame and not a part of the bigger market structure that we can see on H4 or even the weekly. So once I saw these two candles right here close, I had the bullish engulfing that I needed, because the body of the blue candle engulfed the body of the white. So it's a bullish engulfing, and I entered in on price moving on the next candle. Stop loss for me was below the was below this higher low that was just formed by this bullish engulfing candle. I felt confident in this because, like I said, on the higher time frame, we already knew that a higher low was established. So I know that this was more just of a market structure versus a place where there was, I guess, a little bit more risk, where price could have kind of pulled back to this area and then possibly even broken it, or just hit my stop loss and then continue to go bullish. So I felt really confident about it. I felt like it was a good spot, and it really was, because this trade had no drawdown. And then I just let it ride all the way up to the top, which was my first take profit. So one thing that I did note on this trade, although it was good, followed all my signals, was well within my trading plan, well within my risk to reward ratio, I noticed that this also was a trade that I could have held longer because of those take profits that we discussed on the higher time frame on H4, about where we also could have saw, basically areas where I could have made more profit from the same trade. But if you see in my journal, I actually wrote why. I said I wanted to hold this trade longer. However, due to me suffering 3 losses before this, it was more important for me to catch a win for psychology in my risk to reward ratio. So what I'm saying there is that although I know that this trade had potential to go higher, because I had already lost 3 trades, I knew, like, psychology wise, that I just needed to win to carry me through the week, but also that the risk to reward that I'm trading on is a 1, 2, 3. So if I lost 3 trades, I need at least 1 to cover me to get me back into break even, and then I would be comfortable holding for longer, because I wouldn't be operating from a place of I just lost. And if you can see, right after our trade hit the take profit, it did have a very steep retrace. So I don't know if after 3 losses, I would have been able to hold through this, which is why, again, like, I just needed the quick win. And that's okay. Sometimes you have to get a win to build momentum. And then eventually, once you got cushion in your account, Like that's how I'm trading. Like once I have cushion in my account, like I'll be able to take on some of the trades that might require me to have a more stone mindset to hold these longer so I can get more profit from them. But everything in due time, no need to rush the process. You just, you'll do it when it feels more comfortable and as you get more reps in. And that is my plan. So hopefully like it pays off, but we'll definitely see because I will be journaling it. But yeah, that's it for like the trade review that I have for this week. I hope you guys are learning something because I'm actually really liking gold and I feel like we just have so much potential to really get some nice trades on gold this year. It just follows my trading plan to the T, and I like that I am being patient with it. It's actually very easy to be patient with it versus UJ, which is like driving me crazy. And I took no trades in UJ this week. I have barely traded UJ this year because it's just a consolidation like mess. It's just this is not clean structure and I'm not having fun. So in the meantime, it's nice to be trading gold and being allowed the time to kind of just wait to see what UJ wants to do. But I know once she figures it out, she'll start moving and probably be back to my favorite pair again. So let's talk about news for this week. Obviously, we're in a new month. Happy February. I hope you guys are already planning for your Valentine's Day if you haven't already. And for those of you who are single, love yourself, and that's all that matters. But for this week is not Valentine's Day. I think that's next week, whatever day it is. Anyways, we have news this week. New month. It's February. So first week, of course, we have NFP. Unemployment and a new month go hand in hand like clockwork. So we know this week we'll have 2 heavy news days, one on Wednesday, one on Friday. ADP will go first on Wednesday, giving us some kind of indicator of how NFP may go on Friday. So knowing that those are my 2 heavy news days, we again will see how the market is forming. I might not even hold any trades during no time. Like it's very highly dependent upon the opportunities that I see. But that's also something that I wrote in my journal about like this past week that just happened was that we had the FOMC in adjusting, potentially adjusting the interest rate. And honestly, I didn't know what that was going to do to the market. So I actually didn't trade. I didn't have a bias. I didn't trade. I wanted to see what the markets were going to do and see what kind of opportunities I could get after. So it was actually nice to not trade and have that pressure of trying to trade through news. So we'll see. Like I don't know, I might make that a trading rule if it really yields some nice results to just not trade through news. But yeah, opportunities came right after it. And again, like these are all things that I put in my journal. If you're not journaling, please journal. Don't be like me and be hard-headed and wait until you have a lot of things that you're trying to grow in trading before you start journaling. Like journal now, document your progress so you can kind of be your own like cheerleader because you'll have the evidence that like, yo, I've definitely gotten better. Like from when I first started documenting till now, there has to be growth, especially if you're documenting, that means you're in it. You're really trying to get into your craft and get into the details and try to do better. So document your trades. So let's talk about the bias breakdown that I have for these pairs. So I'm going to start with gold because it's nicer, it's easier, and we'll get to UJ in a second and you'll see why it's driving me crazy. So for gold, I wanted to start actually on the monthly, right? So new month, that means January's candlestick just closed. And as you can see for gold, we had a huge bullish candlestick. I mean, this is like bullish candle 101. This is the best bullish candle we could ever get on any time frame, but definitely the monthly, because this just showed us like buyers are in control. Not only are they in control, this January candle is so big. It engulfed December's and November's from 2024. So that shows me like the buyers are not only in control, but they completely haven't gone to the sellers, right? I know, again, I already said that I wasn't going to be selling on gold anyway, but this is definitely a reason for me to never look for sales, at least for the month of February. I would not be taking any sales on gold, right? So I go to the weekly and I see, okay, we are still around this resistance. The price has formed based on this bullish and bearish candle on the weekly. So something that I will probably be just cognizant of is during this month is some kind of, like, we eventually need to break this, right, on the weekly, but we might get a pullback. We might get some testing, some consolidation here around this price area. But that's what we'll be looking at, like the daily and the H4 time frame, to see, like, okay, how are these candles as they're forming moving up to the higher time frame bias. But I still see no reasons to not go for only buys. Like, I'm still not seeing any reasons to sell. There was no resistance that was formed here where price currently is. It seems like price wants to continue to push up. So from there, we look at the daily. We see, okay, the daily now is showing that there might be some seller exhaustion, right? So that actually goes back to what I was just saying. We might see a pullback, because we have to make some kind of a higher low above this weekly line on the lower time frame first before we can see a break of this resistance on the weekly, right? So I see the buyer's exhaustion. We see some kind of sellers are entering into the market based on Friday's candle. There still is no resistance form, but this is again why we'll go down. We'll look for some more details. Okay, so we see H4. From here is where I actually start to draw my structure points, as you guys know. So of course, like, we've been in a bullish structure, higher low, a high, a higher low, a high, a higher low, a high, retested the same low. This is technically one move, but for the sake of just showing you guys continuing structure, I'm going to mark all the details off. But this would be considered a lower high, but then we had a higher low formed because we're still in a bullish, a very bullish pair on the higher time frame. You would go with the bullish bias of trying to enter in on this buy. Then we have another high, which broke past the previous highs. So now this is our new high. So the next thing that we are looking to form is a new higher low. And so where that forms is actually where I feel like my bias deviates. And this is going to be dependent upon how the market opens today. So I have two levels of support that I'm looking at, and a third support slash exhaustion zone is this area right here. So there is a level of support I'm looking at on H1. I'll show you as soon as we finish H4. And then we have an area of support here, bearish bullish on H4, that price could come back down and reject and then continue bullish. Or we have this exhaustion zone based on the last high, where price could pull back, and then we could take like a very good, I think for my trading plan, I double the size of the entries when they enter into zones like this. As long as it follows structure, of course. If we get a higher low that forms in here, I'm definitely going to capitalize on it. All right. So then I went down to H1 and I said, okay, well, let's see what this support looks like. So this support is very strong in the sense that, again, not only do we have a support where it's bearish bullish, but we have a bullish engulfing, because the blue candle's body engulfs the white candle's body. So now we're looking at a potential continuation of of market structure to continue bullish, right? So now I know I need to look on the lower time frame for confirmation if I would ever to look for an entry, because clearly we had price pull back here. We want to see if price is going to continue to pull back all the way down to, the H1 support, break through, go to H4, go down to any of our support zones that we have marked right now. Or do we want to see on the lower time frame, will a higher low be formed and will continue bullish? So that's exactly what I would go onto the next time frame for us. So because I'm on H1, the lower time frame I would go to is M15. And here you see what I have marked off as my two potential, I guess, ways that the market could flow. So again, we're still at that tippy top that we saw on H4. We saw that there was a pullback, so this is it on M15. And then right now, this is the H1 support that was formed. And then we see that there was the resistance was tested based on these two candles. The resistance was tested. And now we have some bearish movement. So let me just remove this. All right, so from here, I said price could either make a higher low, and that would be the entry, and continue to push up, or price could break through this H1 support, retest, and then continue to come down. Some kind of structure for the selling could be formed here and then possibly push down into this area. So that is what I'll be looking for as market opens on gold. As the candlesticks are forming, we'll see which directional bias does the candlesticks confirm. On UJ, we just need to pray for some movement on UJ. I mean, we still are at the same support that we've kind of been at for like almost a month now. We had the support form on the daily right here. And then we continuously see as price always touches this level of support, we have a bearish then bullish. Came up, came back down, bearish then bullish. So there's clearly some strong area of rejection right here for price. So because it formed a level of support, but this is not a bullish engulfing because the blue body of the blue candlestick body did not engulf the white candlestick body. Buyers are not necessarily in control, but buyers are respecting this level of support. But before I go down to H1, I'll show you a quick glance at the monthly. The monthly is showing some sort of resistance, right? So we have a resistance here that formed on the monthly. We have another resistance being formed here. So this technically now is a lower high, right? Remember what I said about breaker structure. Because we are on the monthly, this is something to pay attention to because that means that we could possibly have a huge transition into now basically a selling market for UJ, right? But we have to pay attention to how structure is being formed on the lower time frames before we can develop that bias. So that's what we're seeing. There's a potential lower high, so we're going to continue to watch throughout the month to see if the price is going to basically align with that bias, or will it continue to go up as it has been. So we look at the weekly again, same thing. We have a lower high that has formed based off this higher high, and we're still trying to see like what's going on with structure on the lower time frame. We were just on the daily, as I talked about earlier. We had a level of support, but buyers are not in control because there was no bullish engulfing. I went down to H1 first, actually, and I didn't like how it was too much noise, right? So I came back up to H4 and I said, okay, let me just see if I can get some structure in, right? And so that is what you kind of see here with the purple line. We had a high, right? And again, we're still at that weekly resistance. We had a high. We had a low form, and now we have a lower high right here. So that kind of signaled that sellers were entering into the market and trying to take over. So we had a push, break of the previous low, and now we have a new low, and we have a new lower high, test of the current low, test of the current high, a push to a new low, a new lower high, a push to retest that same low, and then here, right? I don't know yet because we haven't had the next candle, so this is how I just marked it. But we could potentially have price continue to go up or price to come down. Honestly, with UJ, I don't know. So let me delete this, but my two trade ideas was either price was gonna kind of play around in this area a bit, right? Maybe even trickle down lower and then come higher. or price was just going to continue to be on that bearish structure that we saw. But again, because of I'm not confident in UJ right now, it's still kind of it's not enough clean structure. Like, this is completely different from this. Like, this, love it. This, not so much. So we're still, I'm glad that I'm just taking my time though to just sit here and learn through it. And I think that's just what you have to do when you start with one pair, is to sit and learn through it. Because these times on UJ is what usually frustrated me and why I lost a lot more money, which is why I decided to just get another pair. Get another pair. Trade something else in the meantime while your main trader is kind of figuring herself out, right? So that's exactly what I did. And we're just going to just wait and see when market opens, how's price moving, and then we'll analyze it from there. And I will keep you guys updated with UJ as we continuously go through, our weekly breakdowns and just looking at the opportunities that are being formed for us. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have for this week. Honestly, there's nothing else that I had on my list for you guys. So I hope that you guys have a blessed and fulfilled and very prosperous trading week. Please be easy on yourselves. Know that this is a journey. Know that there are going to be good days, bad days, ups and downs. But as long as you keep going, you will reach the finish line. So be patient with yourself. Always take a learning approach and a learning attitude. And I promise you, we will get to the top together. We will succeed together. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching my videos. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. Just get the word out. If this is helping you, if you have any feedback, anything, send it to somebody, send it to me. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good week. Peace.